Motion is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr Speaker.
David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Labor Party, sir, will be supporting this bill to the Select Committee. As the Minister just laid out, it obviously has some advantages in terms of moving many of our ministries into the digital age and allowing them to be able to communicate with New Zealanders much more easily. It's cliche really that we are moving into a digital age, and therefore we in government need to be kept up to speed with that as much as anywhere else. And the Minister went on to talk about some of those advantages, including with regard to the Marriage Licences Act, being able to perform a lot of those activities online, including signing your marriage licences, I understand. For the Department of Conservation, and that includes hunting licences and game licences, for example, being able to do that online and have that as part of an app, or even allowing the election on the Fish and Game Council to be carried out online as well, rather than having to do that in a paper form, which I have to say begs the question, if you can do it with the Fish and Game Council, why can't we move more rapidly to bring out online voting for, say, local body elections? And we've just seen how appalling the local body election turnout has been in New Zealand. And a lot of that relates to, I believe, the fact that many young people have not ever, and certainly I can speak to my own children who were voting in this election this time, for the first local body election. This is the first time they ever had to post a letter in their lives. They sit there on their tablets or their phones all the time. It's about time that we got our electoral system into the digital age as well. And there are other advantages as well that the Minister mentioned about including the transfer of government bills, of photos, for example, of licences with the agreement of the applicant, etc., so that a digital photo can be used rather than a hard copy. All of that, sir, is, I think, uncontentious, is useful, is going to speed up the activities of government and the efficiencies of government, and can be supported. But obviously there is another side to every initiative that is taken, and I think there is worthy to mention three in this occasion. First of all, sir, there is a digital divide that is opening up in New Zealand, and I think we need to address that. A digital divide is those people, obviously, who are well and truly electronically connected, and those who are not. And in the second category, I put those sorts of people as older people who perhaps haven't had the advantages of going through a more computerised education system or computerised age, and those who cannot afford to have a computer or connect to the internet in their homes, of which there are tens, if not hundreds, of thousands of people who are not connected in that way. And it's worthwhile realising, sir, that we do have this divide, and that is up to government as well, not only to put in these newfangled and welcome efficiencies, but ensuring that it is universal and right across the board, not just to some and not others. Secondly, sir, there is the risk of, as we have seen constantly and consistently, particularly in the last few months, the penetration into our digital systems, into our databases, etc., by outside influences. And we've only just got to look across to the United States recently. We had all of their government records entered and stolen. Yahoo, where some of their digital information was passed across to government agencies. And so this morning we were listening to, in the Select Committee, a number of submitters to the giving evidence to our Select Committee, the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, which is hearing the intelligence and security changes that we're trying to make. And once again, we have an agency, the GCSB, which is currently assessing the penetration by outside influences into government, our government departments and key companies around in New Zealand that are being constantly bombarded by both other nations and crime syndicates to try and penetrate and get information from the government. And I'm not convinced, sir, that we will ever be able to protect those resources completely, but we have to understand that there are going to be inherent risks when we consolidate and we put that sort of information together into databases and make it available in the way that the Minister laid out. And lastly, sir, thirdly, and I want to just mention this as well, because this government has not done very well when it comes to protecting our information. We have had leaks in the health, ACC, social welfare, I mean, pretty much every department, IRD, pretty much every single department in the government has had various leaks in which people's personal and private information has made it into the public arena. So we have to do a lot more, and say we, the government in particular, has to do a lot more to ensure that that information is protected. And when it comes to those databases, the government has not done particularly well in terms of setting up databases that are robust and actually work. I mean, the obvious example is NovoPay, which actually, despite the fact that it's got out of the news, is still rumbling on through schools and still creating problems 6 years after it fell apart in glorious fashion. But the other thing that's happening right at the moment is in customs. Our customs embarked on a new customs information gathering system, which was supposed to replace the old system called CUSMOD and replace it with a new system called the Joint Border Management System, which IBM was putting in place. The JBMS, the Joint Border Management System, sir, has not delivered anything like what was expected of it, and my understanding is IBM has just been sacked by the government and told that there's the door, go through it because we don't want to have anything more to do with you. Having delivered over budget, 3 years behind what they said it was going to be, and not being able to deliver the most fundamental part of what they said they were going to do, which was to be able to establish the risk and intelligence functions of goods and people coming into New Zealand. So, sir, it's terrific to laud the progress of the changes that the Minister was talking about, and on the face of it, they're pretty simple, they're pretty straightforward, but behind that, there is a problem, one, of making sure that connectivity is universal across New Zealand, two, to making sure that the databases that we have in New Zealand, as we have seen so often over the past few years, are protected, and that private information does not make it into the public arena. And third, sir, the woeful handling of major information projects that this government has been taking on, and I mentioned NovoPay, but more recently, perhaps in the last couple of weeks, the exit of IBM from re-establishing and reformatting the entire customs system of border management. That, sir, has gone by the wayside as well, and IBM has been, as I said, given the sack, having delivered well over budget, about $30 or $40 million over budget, 3 years late, and not having done what it said it was going to do. It has been woeful, sir. It's been a waste of taxpayers' money, and it's one of those things that we have to keep a very close eye on. Thank you.
Paul Foster.